Hey everyone, Bronx Belle here over at Flashback Almanac. About 2 weeks ago, I did a video on couples that should not be considered relationship goals. If you have not seen that video, you can click up here to check it out. Now, I figured for this video, what would be a really great idea would be to talk about couples that are in direct contrast to the ones that I brought up in the previous video that I consider to be relationship goals. These are not in any particular order, but I will reference the couple that I am contrasting them to for reference for those who have not seen the video. So the first couple I'm going to talk about is in direct contrast to Christian and Anastasia from 50 Shades of Grey. Instead, I'd like to focus on Gomez and Morticia Addams from the 1991 movie, The Addams Family. The reason I picked this couple is because not only are they madly in love and they show it every chance they get, but mainly because when they do get the opportunity to let us into their bedroom, they very unapologetically dabble in BDSM. Dare I say, probably more boldly than Christian and Anastasia do. And I think it is probably one of the healthier sexual relationships I've ever seen depicted on film. Next couple we're going to talk about is in contrast to Edward and Bella from Twilight. So I figured I'd go for another young adult couple here. So I am picking Ron and Hermione from the Harry Potter series. I have been a Potterhead since before the films came out. I remember vividly going to midnight book releases. I remember being in college where it was totally not cool to like Harry Potter. But Hermione Granger was my hero. One reason why I picked this couple is because they did not immediately fall in love. They gradually fell in love as the series progressed. What I love is that Hermione was always very headstrong, very unapologetically intelligent, and often a little mean to Ron. She felt that Ron just could never keep up with her. But as time progressed and their friendship grew, they always had each other's back. Ron initially was annoyed by her. He learned to appreciate her intelligence and often used it to his advantage to get him and Harry out of situations. And that admiration grew to love. And so when they finally got together, you actually believed that this was a really great pairing. I think it's a by far more realistic depiction of what young love is, which is ironic because it's not even in a real world, depending on who you ask. Because if you ask some people, Hogwarts is totally a real place. I mean, I'm still waiting for my letter. Number 3, in contrast to Harley and Joker, I decided to go for Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy from Spider-Man. The reason I picked this couple is because they really and truly respected one another and worked off one another beautifully. She was a genius. She helped him in a lot of situations. Oftentimes, I also think he really had no idea what to make of her, but he knew that she always had his best interest at heart. I don't want to give away spoilers, but because that relationship was so solid and so beautiful, the ending really gets to you in the feels. So Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy from The Amazing Spider-Man. Check it out. Number 4 is a direct contrast to Romeo and Juliet as well as Danny and Sandy from Grease. I decided to go for Aida and Radames from the musical Aida by Elton John and Tim Rice. So for those who are not familiar with the storyline, Aida is a Nubian princess and Radames is a navyman who brings slaves from Nubia to Egypt, and he has no idea that she is a princess. They are star-crossed lovers. There's a song called Written in the Stars. It was meant for them to meet. However, it's also a curse because they are going to be facing the same fate for falling in love with one another. The queen decides to punish them by burying them alive, but they get buried alive together. I know that sounds super morbid, but the reason I picked them as relationship goals, it's because they made the ultimate sacrifice. They didn't want to die, but they owned up to whatever they did at whatever cost. And that is a beautiful thing. I love that in spite of the fact that this was set in ancient Egypt, it felt like any other love story. Another one that I don't want to give a lot away, I suggest you give the soundtrack a listen. It's incredible. Aida and Radames, all the feels. Next. So I took some heat for putting in Corey and Topanga from Boy Meets World as a couple that are not relationship goals, but I decided to add another couple from that series because I just love it so much, but I do think this couple is much more realistic, and I'm going to say relationship goals, Sean and Angela. Now I know, they broke up. But the reason they broke up is because Angela realized that she was not ready to give Sean what he was desperately needing. And so she made that sacrifice of walking away, at least to give him the chance of finding someone else, but also sparing him of getting hurt. I think that is so powerful. Unlike Topanga and Corey, which in a way their relationship kept each other from growing and expanding, Sean and Angela moved forward knowing that that strong love was there. And knowing that at that moment, it might have been the right person at the wrong time. That speaks volumes of maturity, and often how a lot of first loves end up. Sometimes love very blatantly hurts. Sometimes doing the right thing for a person is walking away. And it's because you love them that you do that selfless act. I cried like a baby when that episode aired, and I still cry now. So I'm going to talk about a current TV show that I think is a very strong example of relationship and family goals. I decided to include all three couples from Modern Family. Phil and Claire, Jay and Gloria, and my personal favorite, Cam and Mitchell. The reason I included these three is because I feel like there is no more accurate depiction of modern relationships in this country than those three couples. You have Jay and Gloria, and what I love about Gloria is that because she's played by the very funny and beautiful Sofia Vergara, she could have been easily done as the typical gold-digging, superficial housewife. But they chose to go a whole other way with it. You really see that this is a couple that's in love, and she truly loves Jay for who he is. In fact, there was an episode where he got plastic surgery to look younger, and she blatantly said, "That face I didn't fall in love with," and pointed to his natural side and said, "That's the face I fell in love with." If that's not relationship goals, I don't know what is. As far as Claire and Phil, I love how Phil still treats Claire like the girl that sits in front of him at his high school. He is definitely a dork, and she is charmed by it. And there's this balance between them where he's sort of this laid-back parent and she's sort of neurotic, but between them, they manage a way to raise their family. And it doesn't always end pretty. It can be sloppy a lot of the time, but you admire it. A lot of parents out there may relate to this couple. They're still in love, but to be frank, they don't always agree on how to parent. That's why I think they're a couple to be admired. Last is Cam and Mitchell. First of all, I am giving this couple props for being one of the few openly gay couples on primetime television. I'm sure a lot of people have learned a lot about LGBT couples through this show. I'm not saying it's accurate, I'm just saying it's the first exposure for a lot of people. What I love about them is they are opposite in every possible way. So unlike in Will and Grace, where being gay I felt sort of a punchline, Cam and Mitchell just show that being gay is just part of who they are, and they have a daughter together, and they have to learn how to not kill each other even though they're opposites, just like straight couples do. And I think showing that level of normalcy has really helped a lot of people maybe connect with their LGBT neighbors or their children or, other family members And that's why I think that they are relationship goals. I got a request from Mary Joan Sebastian to pick a real life couple that I think are relationship goals. So I decided to go for Mildred and Richard Loving. For those who don't know, Mildred and Richard Loving, they were a young couple in the state of Virginia. Richard was white and Mildred was black, and they decided to get married, even though the state of Virginia prohibited interracial marriage at the time. They faced jail time. They had to leave the state. They were tied up in different courts for years. In 1967, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the law which banned interracial marriages, which meant that it was no longer illegal to marry someone of a different race. Right now, there are millions of people in interracial marriages, and this case was cited as grounds for gay marriage to be legalized. Thanks to these two very brave individuals, who I might add didn't even want to be in the public eye. I don't think they ever properly took credit for all the love they were able to spread. When you think of so many people out there who have gotten married to someone in a different race, for that reason, I picked them. I don't think it's a coincidence that their last name was Loving. They're responsible for spreading a whole lot more love in this world. And I don't know where so many of us would be without them. So that's what I have. Thanks for watching. I'm Bronx Belle. I love talking about all things pop culture. Whatever it is, I'm an open book. Leave comments below. Let me know what you'd like to talk about. Thanks for watching. Bye.